A shark survival movie that's not Jaws that might actually be good? Sounds interesting.
I'm not dying here. 30, 40 yards. It takes them 32 seconds.
So The Shallows is directed by Jaume Collet-Serra and stars Blake Lively as Nancy. And that's pretty much the entire cast of the movie. There's a couple other minor characters and a CGI shark, but Blake Lively's pretty much the only character in the movie. And now, going into The Shallows, you just have to realize right off the bat, it's a pretty silly movie. There's really not that much substance to it, which is kind of the problem, but at the same time makes it kind of fun to watch. Now, by far and away, the biggest strength this movie has going for it is the beautiful color palette and cinematography, which it's not often that I'd say a movie's biggest strength is the cinematography and the way it looks, but with The Shallows, the best part was easily how bright and amazing the colors were, and how when the tone of the movie changed, the color palette clearly changed as well. It was really fascinating and really good to see. The movie was just breathtaking to look at. Now, unfortunately, it was breathtaking to look at, but when you combined the story and all the things you're hearing and actually taking in, it wasn't great. The Shallows just kind of lacked a lot as far as storytelling goes. And now, I'm no idiot. I don't go into this movie expecting, my life to be changed or anything. I was going in expecting, kind of a fun, popcorny type summer movie that was just kind of a thrill ride. And to some extent, I got that. But at the same time, the movie takes itself really seriously, especially in the second act. And it's a lot more than you bargain for when you go in to see it. Now, just a couple things I liked about the movie were, to name a few, Jaume Collet-Serra's direction was really well done. I thought the camera movement was really fascinating and really well done, although I think it went under and above the water a little too aggressively. There were times where you really didn't need to go underwater and the camera was just bobbing up and down, like for no reason. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me because it wasn't being shown from the shark's point of view or from a third character's point of view. It was just, the camera was just like bobbing like a buoy, and it kind of was trying to give this effect of like bobbing on the surf, I guess, like Blake Lively's character. But I didn't really think that technique translated really well. It was just kind of jarring. But overall, I thought his direction was really fascinating. These big swooping shots of the beach were really beautiful and pretty to look at. Now, another thing this movie did well is your ability to become attached to Blake Lively's character. I felt like she was really easy to get behind. Her mission was very clear and very easy to understand. She's this girl from the US who just wants to go and visit this beach that has some history in her family, and it just makes a whole lot of sense. And they mention she's a med student, so when she's doing all these medical procedures on herself, she's talking about, what she learned in med school, and it really just makes sense. And that's another thing I liked about this movie, is I felt like most of the medical stuff in this movie was actually done really, really well. There's certain things that most people might not realize would cause someone a lot of pain, but they actually cause Blake Lively's character of Nancy a lot of pain in the movie, and it's very apparent when she's going through real struggles. And that's something I really liked about this movie, was Blake Lively's physical performance and how she physically showed that she was struggling. Now, the problem with her performance was anytime she opened her mouth, she just sounded like she was just like reading lines off a page, like, "Hey, come help me." And it just didn't really hold a whole lot of weight. Okay, now into the negatives of this movie. I just felt like all the other characters were really useless, especially her father and her sister. They were two of the most useless characters I've ever seen in a movie. First of all, their performances, and maybe it's just the writing, not the actor's fault, but it was just ridiculous. It was so unneeded, and they just didn't need to be there at all. Maybe for like half a scene. Instead, they get this huge, long dialogue scene where she's like FaceTiming them, which doesn't make any sense if she's on a remote beach. How would she get cell service? But that's a discussion for another video. These two characters were just totally useless, and they pop up at the end of the movie, and I don't know why they're in the movie. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't really see it making any sense to any of you guys who go see The Shallows. Now, the biggest issue with this movie by far was the tone and how poorly paced the movie was. The beginning of the movie starts out pretty fast-paced and pretty energetic with this like EDM pumping bass music, and everything is so bright and colorful, and we're in for this kind of fun summer movie. And then towards the middle of the movie, when she, is starting to struggle, the movie is still kind of on that same tone. It's still, not too serious, but not too silly. It's a very steady tone. And then at the end of the movie, it's like a totally different movie. It's basically a full-on action movie, and it gets really serious, and it didn't really work for what the movie set out to accomplish at the beginning, because it ends as a totally different movie. And it really didn't work. It really felt like two separate movies pushed into one movie. Now, I think some of the main characters' decisions in the movie were also a little bit ridiculous, but I can basically just chalk that up to it just being a fictional movie and suspending my disbelief. There's one scene in this movie involving jellyfish that I really didn't buy and didn't think was realistic at all. But other than that, I felt like the movie was pretty realistic. In the end, The Shallows is a pretty fun summer thrill ride that I think you guys will enjoy if you go out to see it at the movies this weekend. That's why I'm going to give The Shallows a 2.3 out of 4. Thanks, guys. That's the review of The Shallows. I hope you liked it. I hope you drop me a subscribe, drop me a like, whatever it is you do here on YouTube, and I'll see you next week.